The Necklace by Guy de Maupassant. Matilda is a pretty and charming girl born into a family of clerks. As pretty and charming as she is quite unhappy with her status. She deemed it wrongful of fate for her to not have been born in a family of high status. She dressed plainly because she had never been able to afford anything better, yet feels entitled to wealth as she had once been wealthy. With no means of becoming known or wedded by a wealthy man, she let herself be married to a minor official at the Ministry of Education. This is why she stopped visiting a rich friend of hers, a former classmate at the convent, because after getting home, she would weep in sorrow and misery for the possessions she desired. She wanted to be the one envied and sought after by many. One day, her husband came home and showed her an invitation he received from the Ministry of Education, requesting both of their company at the ministry on the evening of Monday, January 18th. To her husband's confusion, she was not delighted with the news. Upon asking her why, she said it is because she doesn't have a dress for such occasions, thus suggesting the invitation be given to another. When he suggested she go with the dress she wore to the theater, she only became more angrier. He tried again by asking her how much a dress would cost, to which she computed that it would be around 400 francs. Quite distraught by the price, Mr. Lascelles still bought her the dress even though he was saving for a gun at the exact price to treat himself for a hunting trip with friends. Mr. Lascelles still chose to put his wife first. Madame Lascelles becomes restless as the day of the party draws near. Mr. Lascelles asked her what's the matter, to which she replied that she didn't have any jewelry to go with the dress. Her husband suggested flowers to wear, yet she refused as it will look cheap. Then came her husband's another idea, for her to borrow from her rich friend, Madame Forrester. Second time's the charm. Madame Loisel was delighted at the idea and set off to meet Madame Forrester. The next day, she went to her friend's house and told her of her distress. Madame Forrester took out a large box of jewelry for Madame Loisel to choose from. She tried on different kinds of jewelry and had bittersweet parting with each until she discovered a diamond necklace. She excitedly tried it on and became lost in ecstasy as she looked at herself. She anxiously asked for just this jewelry, to which her friend agreed. She embraced her friend in gratitude and fled with the treasure. Madame Loisel was successful in being the star of the party. She was the prettiest there, fawned over by the stares of men, official asking for her hand, and even catching the eyes of the minister, enjoying herself so much that she left there as late as 4 a.m. Her husband draped her a jacket for outside, yet she refused as it would ruin her look. Afraid of being seen with cheap clothing, she ran down the stairs without listening to her husband. Once they were outside, they walked for a long time on the streets without any cab on sight, until they were in despair and shivering. They got in an old nightclub, only seen after dark in Paris. When they got home, Mathilde wanted to look at herself before retiring for the night, only to find the necklace on her neck missing. Panicked, they looked everywhere for it only to find nothing. After recalling their steps, they thought that it was most probably left at the cab, but neither of them took note of the driver's number. They tried to retrace their steps, but to no avail. They were in despair. Mr. Lascelles suggested to his wife that she tell her friend that she could not give the necklace back yet, under the guise at the clasp of being broken and is currently at repair. After 1 week, they had last hope. Instead of searching for it or tell the truth to Madame Forrester, they would replace the jewelry. Mathilde was scared of the consequences after what she had done, so this is what they resorted to. They went from jeweler to jeweler, trying to find a similar jewelry, until they found what exactly they were looking for. In a shop at the Palais Royal, they found an exactly looking jewelry worth 40,000 francs. They could have it for 36,000. They begged the seller not to sell it for 3 days as they gathered money for it. Loisel made an arrangement to be able to return it for 34,000 should the other necklace be found before February. Mr. Lascelles used the 18,000 his father had left him and borrowed the rest from relatives and moneylenders. Upon returning the necklace, Madame Forrester sounded cold in saying that Matilde should have returned it sooner. It only enhances the fear of Matilde should the truth be disclosed. After such an unfortunate event, LaSalle went through hell and back trying to pay off the debts. From then on, they significantly cut back on their expenses. Madame LaSalle became a maid and knew the horrible life of the poor and have come to regret taking the things she had for granted. Mr. LaSalle worked day and night, often weighted by fatigue and overwork, doing accounts and copying manuscripts. This kind of life lasted 10 years. One Sunday, she comes across a woman walking with a child. It was Madame Forrester. Feeling emotional, she comes up to her. Her friend didn't recognize her at all, and was surprised being addressed so familiarly by a common woman until she reminded of her identity. Madame Forrester was surprised at how Matilda's changed. Feeling emotional, Matilda expressed the hard time she experienced because of her. Her friend, in utter confusion, stood there listening to Matilda's explanation about the lost necklace and how she had lost it and just how they had replaced it. She explained how it took them 10 years to pay off that debt. Madame Forrester was stunned, and only now she's disclosing to Matildas that the true price of the necklace wasn't even close to half of what they had paid. It only costed her 400 francs because it was on limitation all along. Madame Forrester said to her that she should have been honest about it a long time ago. Otherwise, she wouldn't have experienced such a tragedy. Madame Loisel could be left with nothing but utter shock and regret.